Edider, Yağmur. First of all, I would like to thank you for accepting my invitation. And before we start our conversation, I just would like to get to know you. So could you please introduce yourself?
Right, so I'm Nizar Souissi. At the moment I am with Siemens Energy, acting as a solutions architect for digitalization. I've been so right now I'm based in Dubai. This is my 4th year now. Before that, I was in Germany. I spent 13 years in Germany, also working at a couple of companies, ranging from low-level programming and software development for industrial applications for car manufacturing, automotive, and then progressively I switched to IoT, so the Internet of Things, and then industrial Internet of Things, and this is what brought me slowly to the digitalization for the energy sector.
Okay, so you are doing lots of things. Okay, so this is time to talk about Edider. Probably you haven't you have never heard about that, right? It's quite association actually. Who we are. Okay, so Edider is an association established to support and encourage digital transformation activities in energy sector in Turkey. So it aims to support and defend digital transformation actually practices in energy in the sector and encourage the development, growth, and viability of the sector in the long term. So actually it wants to create the impact to the public about the digital transformation sector in energy in Turkey and to support the creation of a more advanced awareness and understanding in the public about the sector and to encourage the development of the awareness and the understanding. Okay, so, yes. So my first question is, what pushed you work in the field of the digitalization in energy and what was your main motivation?
So, okay, so I guess the question is addressed to someone who was in the energy sector before and then switched to digitalization. I think in my case, it's the other way around, right? So I come from a digital background, right? As I told you, I worked as a digitalization software development, generally speaking, in many sectors. And then at some point of my career, I started with the birth of the concept of Industry 4.0. That's where I switched from the development into more a role that is sales-oriented, technical sales-oriented. So the thing is this, it was a fascinating transformation for the whole industrial field, generally speaking, right? So Industry 4.0 brings a lot of benefits from the digital world, things that we knew in our personal use or in the internet, right? So bringing those benefits to the industry in order to make it more profitable, more consistent, more energy, more environmentally friendly, etc. Right? So that's where I switched to the IoT, and from there, digitalization for the energy sector is not much different than the digitalization for the whole industrial field, generally speaking.
Okay. So what do you understand by the term of the digitalization in energy, and what changes do you expect in the coming periods?
Right. So digitalization, generally speaking, is about changing the processes, changing the way we've been doing things. So either changing existing processes, for example, if we talk about maintenance practices, right? So it's the way you go about your daily maintenance planning, the planification, the follow-ups, the data capturing, the work logs, shift handing over, all of these things that you could be doing today manually, you could be doing with paper, you could be doing with Excel sheets, or you could rely on a system that helps you optimize these practices along the way. So if once we have a system, and then so a digital means like computerized maintenance management system, just to name an example here, right? things become different, right? So you will have a better overview, you will have a better data resiliency, you will have more information, more insights to your equipment. You will know which equipment received what, or what work has been done to which equipment at which time by which person. You have a full traceability, and you can recognize patterns. Once you collect a lot of data, you can run analytics on that data. You can run even some machine learning algorithm, and this is where the magic of digitalization starts to happen, because you start to see patterns. You start to recognize that maybe you are overdoing maintenance, or maybe you are maintaining too few. Maybe you can optimize in converting into condition-based maintenance, as opposed to, for example, timely and interval maintenance, right? Maybe you are changing your spare parts before you need to do that. Maybe you could run them a couple of months more, so that will help you squeeze out the most of your equipment before you change it or you repair it, right? So all of this, and so these are some aspects, for example, of the maintenance, of the digitalization, of the benefit that you could get from digitalization if you apply it to the maintenance and the reliability of equipment. Other aspects, and I'm kind of speaking out of the experience of Siemens Energy at the moment, right? Other aspects could address the efficiency of the equipment, right? So how efficient are you running your equipment? Can you increase that efficiency by 1% or maybe 0.5%, right? So even, so there was a saying, or there was a book actually at some point which said like the power of the 1%. You know, 1% efficiency increase in a gas turbine, that's a couple of millions of euros per year, right? And that's a couple of tons of CO2 saved per year, right? So there is effect that you can reach through digitalization, sometimes with very low investment. Okay, so
yeah. Okay, so but you talk about the reliability, right? So I just would like to say that, you know, one of the basic elements of digitalization in the energy is Internet of Things. So my next question is, can we face important security problem here as well? And what suggestion do you get, and what suggestions should you get?
Come again, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, of course. One of the basic elements of digitalization in energy is Internet of Things, IoT. So can we face an important security problem here as well?
Obviously. I mean, IoT is about connecting. There is a word internet in IoT, right? So the first reflex basically that we've been facing for years when we spoke about IoT, and not necessarily not only in this job, it's always the fear of connecting my equipment to the internet. Like, oh God, am I ready to connect my equipment to the internet? So that is a very real and concrete fear, right? However, not connecting the equipment to the internet is only an illusion of security. You're not more secure if you're not connected to the internet. So let there be no illusion here. A lot of attacks that happened on critical infrastructure, a lot of them happened offline. They did not need the internet to happen, right? They just needed actually the weakest link in the whole security chain, which is the human being, right? So a lot of malware has been actually injected into critical infrastructure through a human error, through a phishing email or an infected USB stick, right? So the internet itself, bringing it to my equipment, to my installation, will not really, will not bring me from a safe to unsafe. It's just another level of unsafety, right? Today, if you are not doing anything about your cybersecurity, you are unsafe anyway. And going online will probably increase your exposure, but it will not bring you from unsafe to safe, from safe to unsafe. Here's the thing: if you are running if you're running any actually application and critical infrastructure, more importantly, you have already digital assets running, right? The whole of the control logic, the whole DCS, everything is digital, and everywhere you have code running, so you have something digital, you have an exposure for cyber attacks. So you better be doing something about it, right? Make no illusion that okay, my equipment has been saved the last 20 years, so it's not going to happen to me. No, it's going to happen to you. So the question is, what are you doing to prevent it, and what are you doing to remediate if that something happens to you? That's pretty much about it. Now, if we know that the IoT is not going to worsen my cybersecurity situation, now we can look at it with another angle. So it's actually an opportunity there. There is a lot of opportunity in IoT. So why don't we just embrace it, win what it is bringing us, profit from it, while considering, improving, working on our cybersecurity processes along the way, which is something we need to do anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So let's talk about blockchain. Blockchains talk about a lot, but when we look at its application in the energy sector, there are applications that we say cannot be done without blockchain. So how do you see blockchain and digitalization in energy in this field, and what awaits us?
All right. So, blockchain is one of those words that have been hyped the most. It's really hyped. It's hyped to a level that it even polarizes people around it. So you will find people advocating blockchain all the way, and you will find people telling you that it's really nothing, like bring its value to zero. The reality, the truth, is actually between the two, right? So what happened when blockchain came about is people starting to find problems to solve with blockchain. So they had the nail. How would you say, like they had the hammer and they were looking for nails to hit. Yeah. And that's not the right approach. Now, what does blockchain bring with it? It's actually two fundamental things, right? It's the trust. So you no longer need to rely on a central source, on a central organization to keep the truth. So the truth is shared among everyone who is part of the Bitcoin, for example, of the Bitcoin network, has access to the whole truth. They will see the whole transactions from day 0 to today, and they will see who did what. So there is that. There is this trust, right? So that's why they say it's a trustless thing, right? And the other thing is, we said trust, and the other thing is the immutability. So basically, it's a truth. The truth is there. You cannot really modify it, right? Or at least you cannot modify it without a considerable effort. So you have to own more than 51% of the nodes of a network in order to go to the history and modify the history. So this immutability and this trust opens up about a couple of applications. Not much, but it opens up a couple of applications. So what we see, examples of applications we see today is, for example, this distributed energy production. So once you have a network where the energy is not longer coming from a central entity, for example, I don't know, the electricity company of certain region. But today we are going towards renewable energy. We'll have people having photovoltaic panels on their roofs. Some people have, small windmills in their gardens. So depending on the regions, what used to be a pure receiver, pure consumer of energy could be today a producer of energy. So one way to deal about, keeping track of the production, bringing more transparency also to who produced what, who consumed, who produced, so who owes whom how much. One way to bring this transparency is actually through the use of blockchain. There have been some examples actually, and Siemens has been involved in such projects in North America. The other thing is the traceability. For example, I'm sure you know about the CO2 trading, for example. So when people sell CO2 certificates, so you save CO2 in one side and you produce CO2 on the other side. So blockchain could help us having this, the traceability of this of CO2 certificates, and bringing more transparency to it as well, right? So you can have an open system where everyone can see, like the government, the private sector, etc. Right? So blockchain, yes, it opens some new applications, but it's not the solution for everything. Right?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so as Siemens, what are you doing to support technology startups in the energy field?
So I don't think this is a question I can answer from my level now.
Okay.
So I will not give a binding statement to it, right? However, I can tell you that Siemens itself, so in the digitalization, generally speaking, and the IoT particularly, the first mistake that all people did the first 2 years, all the big names, is that they were saying, we have everything, we know it all, right? And it took them, like I remember back in 2015, 2016, it took them a year or two to figure out that IoT is never a one-stop shop or one-stop game, right? You always need more than one entity. You always need more than one know-how in order to figure it out. So by the time it became it became kind of a cooperative thing. So people would have to cooperate together in order to create value in the IoT. You know one part, I know one part, together we can create value and bring it over to the customer. On your own and on my own, we don't really create that much of value. Siemens is not acting out of this logic, right? So obviously in our digital portfolio and in digital offering, we do a lot with cooperations with other companies, right? Obviously, some of them, they would be of a smaller size than Siemens. So if there is an interesting idea and someone has been there before us, we don't have necessarily to reinvent it, right? We can just cooperate about it. I think that's a good thing. Siemens anyway produces a lot of systems. Siemens has a lot of install base around the globe, be it now in the energy sector, be it in the rotating equipment or in the control logic. These are all open systems, so people out there in the market, they know them. They have been developing applications for them. They've been extending them, and we're not really close in this right now. So we want people to work on our systems and we want them to develop on them. So there's a lot of room for cooperation there, and there are a lot of programs as well for partnerships, etc.
So, like, for example, if I am going to ask to you, could you please describe energy digitalization as a one word? What was your word?
As one word,
yeah.
It's really hard. But I think this word would reflect my personality more than digitalization. I would go for opportunity.
Opportunity, right? Yeah, that's the quite better. Okay, so my last question is actually, do you think that with the digitalization in the energy, global companies such as Siemens will have difficulty in competition with companies that offer more flexible and competitive products in local area?
Obviously, it will not. The competition will not decrease, right? So digitalization opens the door for companies for startups, for example. You could be a startup. You could have a capital only of human capital of 2 persons, right? You just come up with a good idea, and bam, there you go. You can actually save the customer money with it, and you can sell, right? So you don't have, you don't necessarily need the whole legacy that a Siemens is bringing with us, like a whole more than 100 years producing rotating equipment. So yes, of course, it's exposed us to more competition than what we used to have earlier with just the big names that were capable of producing our equipment. However, first of all, that's where the evolution is going, right? You cannot stop evolution. And second, it's not something we want to fight. It's not something we want to stop. We're happy about it. This is where it's going. We see a lot of opportunity as well. So Siemens is also a digital company right now, right? We are not pure hardware company. So there are, I can speak of this as an employee of Siemens now. Like there is a lot that is going on about digitalization. The word digital is almost in every new unit, and the names even of the existing units are changed to reflect how digital we are supposed to become, supposed to be, and where we want to go, right? The future is digital. He who owns the data has actually the value. And we are already today offering a lot of value around just the data, just around the digital portfolio itself. We have an extensive portfolio, and we bring a lot of value for our customers with it. And the good news is that even for the customers, digitalization makes the know-how more accessible. So today, thanks to digitalization, I am able to capture a lot of know-how that used to live only in the heads of our most experienced engineers or most experienced project managers. Today, we can capture that know-how in a digital solution that I offer the customer, and the customer can work with it autonomously, right? So there is a lot of opportunity there as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So my questions are actually done. So do you have anything to add or anything to say?
Well, off the record now, thank you for reaching out.
Yeah.